Hi, welcome back to Eatrigue. My name's Jessica and this is every single Super Noodle flavour that I was able to find. There are 18 different varieties sat in front of me right now and I'm going to test every single one and find out which is the best. Super Noodles come in 3 different types. You've got this sort of standard block here. We also have these lower fat air fried noodles at the front here, and also some cups. However, these cups are the same flavours as some of these regular blocks, so I just want to see if these cup noodles are the same or different to these block noodles. I did try to get hold of every single flavour of Super Noodles that exists. However, there were some flavours that were just a bit too elusive and I couldn't find them, despite looking at every single supermarket and all the other stores such as like Home Bargains and B&M, that kind of stuff. Couldn't find them anywhere. Ones I couldn't find were chili and lime, pickled onion, Mexican chicken fajita and vindaloo. So if you do know where any of these flavours are available, do let me know down in the comments and maybe I'll do a follow-up video if I'm able to find them. But for now, let's get started. I'm having to prepare these in batches because I can only do 4 at a time, 4 hobs, 4 pans. That's all I can do and I want to eat them as fresh as possible. I'm starting with all the chicken varieties and this first one is chicken. It just smells like regular chicken, kind of looks a bit like regular chicken. Let's give it a taste. That's kind of a bit of a weak chicken flavour really. I was expecting something a bit more intense. Chicken is basically like the default flavour for noodles, isn't it? And it's really hard to find a decent chicken flavour and unfortunately this isn't it. It's quite weak. It kind of just tastes like when you boil up some chicken and make a very basic chicken broth without putting anything extra in there, no herbs, no spices, no salt, pepper, anything like that. It definitely needs something else in there. If I was to prepare this, I would be throwing in some extra flavourings just to sort of make it nicer, but I'm judging things based on how they are without any extras added. This is a 4 out of 10. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Next we have chicken and mushroom flavour. Now of course chicken and mushroom is a very classic pot noodle flavour. It's one of their mainstays and this smells very similar to that. So let's give it a taste. Immediately much more interesting than the regular chicken. The mushroom flavour is quite strong there. It's actually the most dominant flavour rather than the chicken, but again overall it's very weak. It's quite a watery flavour and I did cook all of these according to packet instructions. 300 ml of water, stir in the condiment packet, sauce packet, like the powdered flavouring packet, that's the word I'm trying to find. And then cooked it for 4 minutes. So it is cooked according to packet instructions and it just tastes very weak. It is slightly better than the chicken though. And so I'm going to score the chicken and mushroom a 5 out of 10. Next is Chinese salt and pepper chicken flavour. And that's what it looks like there. Let's give it a smell. Oh, I can smell a lot of pepper coming out of there. Let's give it a try. Ooh. Wow. Okay, there is a lot of pepper flavour in there. I think this has got what the chicken flavour is missing. If I tried to taste the flavour underneath the pepper, I think it's the same flavouring as the chicken and just added pepper to it, which is what it needs. However, it is very, very strongly of black pepper. So if you don't like black pepper, then this is not going to be good for you. However, if you do, go for this. This is amazing. I love this. I don't think there's many other sort of Chinese flavours in there. I think it's basically salt and pepper chips is like a big thing at the Chinese recently. It's not something I ever grew up with, but in the last few years, it's just come through as a Chinese flavour, which is interesting. And this is bringing that on, and I quite like it. I'm going to give the Chinese salt and pepper chicken a 7 out of 10. Then finally for batch number 1, we have southern fried chicken. We have a more orangey colour here. I can smell southern fried chicken in there, kind of slight KFC vibe, but let's give it a taste. I can see where they're coming from with this. This does have quite a few additional herbs and spices in here. It's got things like sage, black pepper, fennel. So yeah, that's sort of adding an extra interest in the flavour. And it does kind of taste a bit like southern fried chicken. Not a fried chicken that I'm familiar with. It's definitely not KFC. It's kind of in that realm, but the flavours are not quite lining up. But mind you, it's not attempting to be KFC. That's Kentucky Fried Chicken. This is southern fried chicken, which is different, right? So, but if I close my eyes and ignore the texture, you could convince me that I'm eating southern fried chicken. It's quite nice. I think it will get a bit one-dimensional as you eat through the whole bowl. Therefore, I'm just going to give this a 6 out of 10. We're moving on to the curry slash spicy flavours now, and we're starting with mild curry. A lovely turmeric-y yellow colour coming out of this. Also, it's smelling really nice in this kitchen right now. Let's try it. That is a mild curry. It's quite nice actually. It's a slightly fruity flavour, which is pretty cool. And of course, because it says mild curry, there's actually no like heat, like spicy heat to it. I'm gonna have to put it down because the bowl is quite warm. But it's very pleasant curry flavour. I quite like this. Curry can go a bit wrong in noodles, but I think Super Noodles here, they've kind of nailed it. It's not too salty, and there's kind of, oh, there's some nice like spices hanging out in the background there. Let me have a look at what that might be. It's cardamom. I think that's what I'm tasting here. Oh, there's also fennel seeds in here as well. There's garlic, onion, anise seeds as well. So it's kind of like slightly aniseedy, although I can't really taste that. For a noodle curry flavour, it's pretty good. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. This one smells even better though. This is Japanese katsu curry. So you can see it's quite a browner colour. And katsu is based on British chip shop curry. So you're kind of getting an air of chip shop curry coming through. So let's give this a taste. That is nice. That is really nice. The flavour is awesome actually. It definitely tastes like katsu curry. However, it is suffering from what all the other noodles are suffering from, which is a slightly watered down taste. Like I said, I'm cooking these for the 4 minutes it recommends on the packet. So maybe if you cook it slightly longer, you know, sort of evaporate a lot more of the water, then maybe that would disappear. But I'm actually really enjoying this katsu curry. It's definitely better than the mild curry flavour, but the wateriness is kind of putting me off a bit from giving it a quite high score. I would like to give it a 9, but it's not really an 8. So this is an 8.5 out of 10. Now I don't normally give half points, but I think I have to compromise on this particular product. Next is American buffalo sauce flavour. Now the packet here actually has a chilli rating. It's got 2 out of 3 chilies, so I'm hoping for a bit of spice in here. So that's what it looks like close up. Kind of a bit orangey, as you would expect from a buffalo sauce. So let's give it a taste. Well, there is definitely some chilli in there. As for the flavour, let's give it another taste. It's quite tomatoey, which is kind of weird because buffalo sauce doesn't have tomatoes. It is pretty much pure butter and peppers, like chili peppers. So I don't know why I'm getting that. I wouldn't even call this buffalo. I would say it's more like a spicy or lightly spiced pasta sauce. So yeah, I'm very, very disappointed in this flavour. So yeah, I'm putting that down. It's not like massively unpleasant, but it's just not what I'm expecting. And it's not something I'm going to buy again, put it that way. So I'm giving American buffalo sauce flavour a 3 out of 10. You disappointed me, disappointed me. This is the final batch in the standard blocks of noodles. And also, I don't think I considered how many bowls is going to be required for this. I'm on the pasta bowls over here, but never mind. We're starting over here then with the barbecue beef. There's kind of a light brown colour in the noodles there. And also, when I opened the packet to cook this, very first thing I could smell was smoke, like a really overpowering smell of smoke. So let's hope that that doesn't overpower the flavour. Let's give it a taste. No, it doesn't overpower it. It's there. You can kind of taste it, but it's not like front and centre. Definitely the beef flavour is coming through the most strongly. And out of all of the flavours, apart from the curry ones, this is actually given a much more intense flavour. So yeah, that's quite nice. So I like that. Now, in general, I'm not a fan of beef flavoured things. Kind of, when you've got a flavour that's meat and not really anything else to go alongside the meat, you kind of lose a lot of interest in it, and it just becomes one-dimensional as you go through the end of the bowl, and you kind of just get bored by the end. And I can feel like that's what's going to happen here. So I'm going to score barbecue beef a 6 out of 10. Next is bacon flavour. Very light coloured noodle here, slightly pinkish. And of course, bacon, artificial bacon flavour is also generally never good. So I'm not holding that much hope for this, but let's see if it can prove me wrong. I've had worse. I've also had better. Bacon isn't my go-to flavour of things, definitely my go-to meat. But in terms of flavourings of things, it's not really something I go for. And it kind of just reminds me of Frazzles, which I'm not really a fan of either. So yeah, unfortunately I'm putting that down. Bacon scoring a 4 out of 10. The final standard block then is chow mein. We have a much deeper brown colour here on the chow mein. Let's give it a taste. Okay. Now, of course, chow mein is normally a noodle dish anyway, so it's very difficult to mess up the flavouring. But I think it's a pretty good version of chow mein. Obviously, it's not going to be as good as anything you get from like a proper Chinese restaurant, but in terms of flavour from a packet noodle, it's not too bad. It might be something that I go back to at some point, but it wouldn't be my first choice. Therefore, I can only score this a 6 out of 10. So now we're moving on to the air-dried noodles. So these air-dried noodles are supposed to be like a healthier version. So I don't know if you know, but like packet noodles are deep fried. So they make them in a block, then deep fry it, and that's what dries it out. Whereas these have been air-dried. I keep wanting to say air-fried, they're not air-fried, they're air-dried. So that therefore they're not got all the oil that is in the noodles, therefore it makes it less calories. So each of these is about 139 calories, whereas the standard block are around about 220 calories. So you're saving yourself some calories there, which potentially is a good thing, potentially a bad thing. It depends how it tastes, right? So let's start then, firstly, with the chicken. Now I'm assuming the flavour packet is going to be the same as the standard one. So it's more about how the noodles taste as opposed to the flavour, so let's give it a try. Well, the noodles are stickier, and honestly, if you told me beforehand that these were air-dried rather than deep-fried ones, I wouldn't even know. It just tastes like noodles. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with the type of noodle, so it's all about the flavour. I think the chicken flavour is slightly different to the standard chicken. I'm actually quite enjoying these, especially knowing that there's fewer calories, so I might actually go and buy these again. I scored the regular chicken a 4. This is actually slightly better, I think, so this is going to be a 5 out of 10. This is chicken and herb. Also, this one is described as low fat rather than air dried. I'm actually just wondering if this is maybe like an old product and they've rebranded it with all the air fried ones. I'm not sure, but let's give it a taste. I'm not quite sure what the herbs are adding to it. I can't discern what herbs are actually in here either. I'm gonna have to look it up. Let's have a look. Okay, it doesn't say, it just says herbs. I wonder if that's so they can just put whatever herbs they want in depending on what's available at the time. Herbs. The herbs do add another dimension to it, but not by much. And so I can't really score it any different to the standard chicken, so this is also a 5 out of 10. Next is curry flavour. Again, a very deep turmeric colour here. And again, I wonder if it's going to be any different in terms of flavour from the other curry. Let's give it a taste. I think it's again about the same. Once again, the noodles are stickier. In fact, I did notice that these took a bit longer to cook. The packet does say 5 minutes, whereas the regular ones does say 4 minutes. So I wonder if that's due to the fact that they're air dried rather than fried. I don't think the flavour is any different to the standard curry. However, I am enjoying the fact that there are fewer calories in this bowl than there are in that bowl. And the taste and texture of the noodles themselves are not suffering for the fewer calories. So I'm going to have to give this one more point than the standard curry. So this is an 8 out of 10. Final one in this batch is the barbecue beef. So again, very similar smell to the standard barbecue beef and a very similar colour as well. Let's give it a taste. Yep, it's basically the same as the standard barbecue beef, so I'm not just going to repeat myself. But again, I do like the fact that the noodles are healthier. However, I still don't think the barbecue beef is a good flavour overall. So I'm just going to score this the same as the original barbecue beef, and that's a 6 out of 10. One final batch then, the Super Noodles in cups. These are our final 4 products then. So these are all flavours we've seen before, but they are prepared slightly differently, obviously because they're in cups. You just fill to the waterline, stir it, 4 minutes later, they're ready. This is the very first time I've ever had a cup noodle from Super Noodles. I've only really had pot noodles in the past, and this one doesn't have the little sachet of anything. It's just powder that's already there. So you literally just add water and nothing else. And this first one is chicken flavour. So the noodles in these are a lot thinner, and they also come with like little dehydrated peas. So they are slightly different to the regular one. That is a much more intense chicken flavour than the standard one. Oh, that's actually pretty good. Why can't they put this flavouring in the standard chicken? This is a much nicer version. I could quite happily eat this entire pot. I mean, I don't think I physically can, not right now, but yeah, that has surprised me. I'm gonna have to give this one like an 8 out of 10. It's surprisingly good. Well, let's see if the other one surprised me as well. This one then is Chinese salt and pepper chicken. So it's a much lighter colour. This also has flecks of what I'm thinking is like maybe pepper, like red pepper in there. So let's give this a taste. Oh, that's good as well. I think they've used the same chicken base as the regular chicken, but then added some pepper in it as well. These are surprising me. I wasn't expecting the pots to be nicer than the blocks because I always associate Super Noodles with the blocks, not the cups. So yeah, they've done a really good job on these. So it pretty much tastes the same as the standard salt and pepper chicken, just a bit more intense of it. So I'm going to have to score it one more than the standard version. So this is an 8 out of 10. The next one we're trying is curry. And again, it's turmeric yellow. So let's see how it tastes. I don't think this one is intenser, more intense than the standard curry. It's pretty much the same. And obviously it comes in a more convenient packaging, but because the flavour isn't any different, I can't score it any different. Therefore this is also a 7 out of 10. And finally, this is barbecue beef. And just like the other ones, it's kind of a very subtle brown colour. And it pretty much smells the same as well. So let's give it a taste. I think it does taste slightly different, and if anything, it tastes slightly worse. This might just be because this is the third barbecue beef flavoured noodles I've tried today and I'm kind of a bit bored of it. But I don't think it's as good as the standard block. No, I'm not enjoying that. There's just too much smoke flavouring in there. They've gone a bit too intense with it. And whilst a little bit of smoke flavour is nice, when you put too much in there, it just tastes of burnt. So yeah, I'm gonna have to score that one a 3 out of 10. It's really not any good at all. So there we go, 18 different varieties of Super Noodle tested and ranked. This has been an intense day. I am so full of noodles and I just want to go and lie down. But here's your winner, the Japanese katsu curry. And this was closely followed by a tie for second, which is the pot chicken and the regular mild curry. I think we learned that I like curry. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and all of that stuff. Watch these other videos appearing around my head. And I'll see you again next time.